Today we're going to review lesson 5.5 through 5.7. I am borrowing the same format from textbook page 238, and the actual page 238 is going to be your homework for today. But I'm just borrowing this format and I changed some numbers, as you can see, and we'll work on this together. So I'm going to put it on the top right here. Numbers are changed. So it's going to work on the same way, but just going to use different numbers. Question number 1 and 2 says, translate the triangle or the figure into different units. I'm not asking you to draw the shapes. If you want to draw them, it's fine. If you are printing out the page, it may work. But if not, we are only going to use those coordinate points. So it's completely fine if you're not drawing the figures. Let's go ahead and see the changes first. I have 3 units to the right and 2 units down. The left or right will determine if we're going to add or subtract. Moving right indicates that you're going to add, and moving 2 units down would indicate that you're going to subtract. So first, I'm going to find the coordinate points for A, B, and C. My A is going to be -1, 4. My B is going to be 2, 3. And C is going to be 3, 0. My A prime then is going to be adding 3 more to my X value. So -1 plus 3 is going to give you 2. And subtracting 2 from y is going to give you 2. My b prime will work the same way. 2 plus 3 will give you 5, and then 3 minus 2 will give you 1. Last but not least, for c prime, you're going to add 3 more, so it's going to be 6, and 0 minus 2 will be -2. So without actually drawing the shape, you can still find out the information because this is a pattern that you're going to follow. Left or right, adding or subtracting, and up or down, you either add or subtract. So A prime, B prime, C prime, these are the answers. And if you want to check on your own, you can always go ahead and draw these points and then see if they are correct. For number 2, same thing. We're going to translate 4 units left and 2 units down. So you can go ahead and pause and find out the coordinate points and move them and then check the answer. If not, you can watch this one as well and then try to see the pattern that we're creating. So my first step for number 2 is to find out all my points and their coordinates. So I have K, L, M, J, or you can say J, K, L, M. Either way is fine. And then I wrote down the coordinates for you guys, so we can start right away. We're going to look into K prime, and it says 4 units left. So I'm going to subtract 4 from -2. It's going to go more negative, so it's going to be -6. And then 2 units down from 3 is going to be 1. L prime is going to be 1, 1. 1 minus 4 is going to be -3. And 1 minus 2 is going to be -1. M prime is going to be -2 minus 4, so -6. And -2 minus 2, so -4. And J prime is going to be -4 minus 4, -8. 0 minus 2, -2. The key point is really to make sure you know how to subtract or add positive and negative numbers, or other words, integers, so that you're not mixing these numbers up. And if you have a hard time with just working with the units, you can go ahead and draw them, which will take a little longer time, but it's going to be more accurate as long as you move the correct number of units. 3 and 4 is going to have 2 parts. You're going to find the coordinates of the figure after reflecting in the x-axis and then the y-axis. So you're going to have 2 different sets. So I'm going to put A underneath and make A prime, B prime, and C prime for x-axis, and then I'll write the B ones is A prime, B prime, C prime. Okay, it's okay if I run over to the side a little bit. So when you are reflecting across the x-axis, your x values are going to stay the same, and then your y values are going to change to its opposite number. So for A prime is going to be 3, negative 1. B prime is going to be 2, negative 6. C prime is going to be 5, negative 4. Again, if you look at the x values, they're going to stay the same. And then my y values changed to its opposites. For B, which is y-axis, it's going to have the same rule, except my y values are going to stay the same, and then x values are going to change to its opposite. So A prime is going to be negative 3, 1. B prime is going to be negative 2, 6. And then C is going to be negative 5, 4. For number 4, it's going to work the same way. I'll put A x-axis on the top. So my D prime is going to be negative 1 and 4. E prime is going to be negative 1 and 1. F prime is going to be 0 and 3. And G prime is going to be 1 and 4. Like I said, your x values are going to stay the same. And then for B, D prime is going to be 1, negative 4. E prime is going to be 1, negative 1. F prime is going to be just 0 because you can't change things from 0. And it's going to be negative 3. And then G prime is going to be negative 1, negative 4. For number 5 and 6, you'll have to determine if the blue figure is a rotation of the red figure about the origin. That means it's going to be right here, 0, 0. And if it's a rotation, you'll have to give the angle and direction. So either 90 degrees, 180 degrees, or 270 degrees, and either clockwise or counterclockwise. I didn't change this questions because I'm not going to give you the answer, but I can give you the idea of how to work on these things. So whenever you're working with it, there are several different ways, but just make sure that this point and whichever point that is corresponding to the point that you are looking into are going to have the same distance from the origin. And if you're able to actually visualize it in your head to rotate it, great. If not, you can always use parchment paper or cooking sheets or even clear plastic Ziploc bags, and then try to rotate them and see if they are the rotation of the original image. So 5 and 6, I'm going to let you guys decide if they are the same and if they are actually rotated from the origin. Number 7, I fixed the point from A to B. So you're going to see 2 points, A and B. Describe a translation of the airplane from point A to B. So I just have to find out from here to here how many units to which direction it moved. So first, it's either going to go left or right. And in this case, we know that it's going to go to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4 units. And then it went down 1 unit, so it went 1 unit down. And that's what they're asking for the translation of the position. Number 8 is asking you if the golf ball, which is going to be right here, is going to make it into this hole right here if it would have a reflection across the y-axis. So what you can do is you can graph the position of the golf ball and see if it's going to go pass across the hole. and you'll have to explain it. You can draw it or explain it either way. I'm just going to go ahead and do number 9. The pivot point of a compass is at the origin. A circle is drawn starting at, and I change the numbers, 4, 5. What point is the compass pencil on when the compass has rotated 270 degrees counterclockwise? The important part here is going to be the degree and the direction. So 270 degrees counterclockwise, you can always move the shape 3 times into these different location, but then we also know that it's going to be equal to 90 degrees clockwise. And when we have 90 degrees clockwise, we have a rule that x comma y changes into y comma negative x, which means your x value that you had here is going to switch the spot and go into its opposite, and then your y value is going to now occupy the answer for the x. So with that rule in mind, we're going to look into 4, 5. If we're applying the same rule, it's going to be 4, 5, changing into, and then 5 goes into the front, 4 with the opposite. So it's going to be 5, negative 4. So there was the brief version of homework review slash lesson 5.5 through 7 review, and hopefully you guys can understand that the reason why we're using these rules are because we are going to move the shape in certain direction and they follow a pattern. You don't need to memorize them, but if you have these with you in your notebook, it's going to be very handy when you're either working on your assignments or even for your quiz. So for today's homework, it's going to be page 238 from the textbook. And then next to your name, if you have watched this video all the way through, you're going to draw a flower.